Hello, welcome to a new video. As said in the last video, today we're going to take a look at some more buffs for the next season for the Open Great League. Today we're going to take a look a little bit at buffs that people are not really talking about, even though they should. And yeah, so today you're going to get a little bit of bonus content here on this channel for like some Pokemon you maybe want to take a look at for the next season that, yeah, I have not really seen anybody really talk about, but yeah, they're definitely going to be very, very strong for the next season. So definitely, if you enjoy this type of videos, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. I might make another video like this for Pokemon that are not in the Great League, basically for Ultra League and Master League Pokemon. But also, I already researched this morning basically for Pokemon that are going to be a little bit worse this season. So if you want to see this, I would really appreciate if you leave a like on this video. It helps out the channel a ton. And we can now move on to the Pokemon at number 1. Today we don't really have a specific order, but today we're going to take a look at Raichu. Raichu currently running the moveset of a Volt Switch, a Wild Charge and Trailblaze, which is actually not true. The recommended moveset is a Volt Switch, a Wild Charge and the Brick Break, but Trailblaze is mostly the better move to go for. Wily is the Electric and Grass typing, so good together, while they're going to be both weak to Dragon type Pokemon. Electric is only really otherwise weak against Ground type Pokemon, but heavily weak, and Trailblaze can cover for this while also boosting our own attack. Now, this Pokemon has access to Thundershock. Thundershock got a buff. Thundershock is going to definitely help this Pokemon out quite a bit more, as you're gonna see here with this moveset. All of a sudden, you gain over 100 average rating, and 515 average rating is really, really good. Like, this is top tier meta Pokemon all of a sudden, which is hilarious because look at it, it's Raichu, a Pokemon that has been in the game from literally day one. This Pokemon all of a sudden is going to be a very interesting Pokemon to run for the Open Great League. And I don't think that you really expected this one because nobody is really talking about even the moveset that this Pokemon can have. And so, Wild Charge is an amazing attack to beat basically all of those water type and flying type Pokemon, doing super effective damage against those, but it's stab and a very hard hitting move. And then you're going to have access to Trailblaze, which is going to allow you to cover Pokemon like even Gastron, which you see here as a potential win for this Pokemon. And yes, of course, this Pokemon is squishy, and yes, of course, like Pokemon with a lot of fast move pressure and like Mud Step going to be a bit tricky for this thing, but you can fight back with Trailblaze, which is very unique for this thing. If you wonder if the Alone Raichu is a little bit better, no, it is not. It is a little bit worse. The stats are a bit better for the normal Raichu compared to the Alone one, and the Psychic typing is not a great defensive typing, sadly, and as you don't use it offensively, sadly, the Alone Raichu is not better than the normal Raichu. The normal Raichu with only the weakness to ground is definitely the better one to go for, and as you can see here, this Pokemon is honestly a very, very interesting Pokemon for the next meta, which I would really want to showcase as well, with 21 wins and 14 losses. Next Pokemon is going to be something that depends on how the move actually going to be changing. We're going to take a look at the Pokemon that has access to Bulldoze. That's why people are not talking about it, because we don't actually know exactly on what is going to change. We have already the damage, which is I think 40 damage for this move, which was a little bit more before. We know that it's going to get an energy decrease, so it is going to be cheaper in terms of energy. And with the damage output that it has, I would imagine it's going to be a 35 energy move, which is the only way of this Pokemon actually being like more viable thanks to the move. Anything else is not going to really work out, so it has to be a 35 energy move. It has also a chance, I think I put it in for 50% to debuff the opponent's defense, which is very, very important as well for this Pokemon. But yeah, Bulldoze on the Piloswine could make this Pokemon way more interesting for the current meta, as we'll see here, getting a lot of average rating if it's gonna be happening like we expect it's going to be happening, and giving you a little bit of a bait move, which is really great for Avalanche, which is a hard-hitting move that takes a little bit longer to get to, but like also not that crazy long. And so yeah, I would imagine that Bulldoze, if it gets the move update that we expect, would be an interesting pick on the Piloswine and would make this Pokemon a little bit better in the Open Great League, even though it is already kinda a hidden core breaker for a lot of the teams currently. So I like this Pokemon quite a bit already, and it's going to be even better next season most likely. And here we're going to be a little bit more for like the obvious ones, of course. We're going to have Manectric. While I said before that this Pokemon is not going to be the best, it is not going to be the best. It is going to be a solid Pokemon though. We see here currently for this Pokemon and another Pokemon on this list, which you're going to see as well later why this is the case. You're going to have here the two-shade scenario as showcase, because it's going to be the best kind of way of playing those Pokemon. Here we're going to have the Manectric with Snarl, Wild Charge, and Psychic Fangs. Of course, the Manectric got a buff to the fast move of Thunder Fang, and this is going to allow this Pokemon to definitely be an interesting pick for the next season. As in the two-shield scenario, this Pokemon still wins kind of 17 matchups and loses 17, but you're going to have a very nice average rating increase, and you're going to have way more potential to just farm on opponents, which is really, really nice, and I feel like it's still going to be a very solid buff for the upcoming season for Manectric. As you also see, seemingly at least, beat a little bit more of the meta Pokemon. You're gonna lose against Clodsire because you don't get to the Psychic Fangs as fast anymore. But I feel like this Pokemon definitely has a bit of play, mainly though in limited meta. But I feel like sometimes maybe you're going to be able to even build a normal team around the Manectric. You just have to bait out basically ground-type Pokemon for this Pokemon to deal with. Maybe you can use something like a Raichu as a safe swap for it. But yeah, this Pokemon definitely gonna have some play. Another Pokemon that's going to have some play is going to be Typhlosion, and this Pokemon got directly buffed with Thunder Punch, and while it doesn't show it directly here in the average rating, it's only going to get an increase by 2, I'm fairly certain that this Pokemon is going to have a lot more play next season because of the move update. Well, you might think, okay, Thunder Punch just getting 5 extra damage, what's really the deal? You usually want to go for Blast Burn anyway. There are a lot of scenarios where Typhlosion really would like to go for Thunder Punch instead, just to do a little bit of damage and then try to farm down afterwards. And I feel like there are going to be more opportunities in like certain matchups where you're going to be able to get the KO with the Thunder Punch now, which you would have not been able to get before. And that's something that PvP, of course, in head-to-head matchups cannot always show, but again, PvP in the, if you actually play in the Go Battle League, it's not going to be just head-to-head matchups, it's only for the lead the case. And so, basically, I'm fairly certain that this Pokemon is going to be a little bit better next season, thanks to the Thunder Punch buff, giving you better coverage against Water-type Pokemon, doing a little bit more damage there, and allowing you to get some KOs that you usually would not be able to get. And then again, you can also run the moveset of Shadow Claw and Self-Incinerate, which is going to give you a little bit of better coverage against the newly released Galera and Corsola, which is also going to be one of the biggest meta threats for this meta. My favorite currently to run is going to be Morpeko. Morpeko getting, of course, a buff here with the Thunder Shock. I talked, of course, about this Pokemon, but I haven't really seen anybody else really talk about this Pokemon. I'm fairly certain that this Pokemon is going to be nearly S tier for the next season. Like, getting a bit of a buff here actually impacts it quite a bit more than you expect because you have so many boosts applying towards it. Like, getting just this one extra damage for Thunder Shock is 25% more damage from the fast move, which is very, very strong. But you're also going to amplify it as well with Psychic Fangs being able to drop the opponent's defense and Auriel being able to buff your own attack. And so, while yes, maybe on PvP again in the 0 to 1 shield scenario, which is not the best scenario for Morpeko, the 2 shields is, this Pokemon is going to not look as much different as before, but I'm fairly certain it's going to be way, way stronger, and it was already very, very strong to the point where I was like, okay, maybe they have to tweak a little bit with Auriel, but now this Pokemon gonna get a little bit of a buff, and it's definitely going to be the season of Morpeko, but also, of course, season of ground types as well. I'm fairly certain I'm gonna make a video about like hidden buffs as well. Ground type Pokemon are going to be a little bit better this season. That's not really something that is too surprising, to be fair. Also, next opponent here, next Pokemon here, we're going to have Arcanine. I was kind of talking like in my battle videos. Arcanine here having access to the fast move of Fire Fang now. Fire Fang's energy generation got buffed, which allows Arcanine now to definitely do a little bit more, especially in the 2-shield scenario. And so, yeah, this is the second Pokemon for this video that we're going to take a look at the 2-shield scenario with. And as you're going to see, Arcanine is going to have Snarl currently, and with Fire Fang, the average rating goes to 550. This is top tier meta stuff, like literally top tier meta stuff in the 2-shield scenario. This Pokemon is an insane closer. This Pokemon is insanely strong, even in the lead then. But like, especially I feel like closing out with Arcanine in a lot of matchups going to be so overpowered. Especially if people like try to say swap certain Pokemon that Arcanine is going to be good against, like Steel type Pokemon or something like this. You're going to be in such a great spot just farming them down. And then you have Wild Charge. Great coverage for this Pokemon because of course Fire types are going to be weak to Water type Pokemon. Wild Charge going to destroy them. Psychic Fangs in the current meta, where Primeape is going to be very important as well, or like Pokemon like Toxapex exist, going to help you out quite a bit as well. And so I'm fairly certain that Arcanine is going to be way, way better than people expect, because everybody looks just in the 0/1 shield scenario for this Pokemon. It doesn't look that great there, but in 2 shield scenario, this Pokemon is insane. It's kind of similar to what you would imagine like a Charmer would do, so like it's not really the best Pokemon in the 0s and 1, like the Pokemon like Wigglytuff, but in the 2 shield scenario, this Pokemon is going to have a lot more play. But unlike Charmers, because it's not as clunky. You're going to have Fire Fang, which is already a 2-turn fast move compared to the 3-turn fast move of Charm, but also you generate energy faster, which is going to be very important for Arcanine as well. Next Pokemon. A Pokemon that I was talking about and was saying, oh, it's going to be the best Pokemon next season. Oh, wow. Of course, I kind of have to tone this back a little bit again. Main reason why I have to tone this back a little bit is not because this Pokemon got changed by anything or whatever. Even though it already looks very good. Like, on the left side is always, of course, the current meta. Like, this Pokemon already still looks insane for whatever reason. But the thing is, what I kind of need to say about this is, of course, the nerf to Rage Fist got removed, which means, again, you have Primeape and Annihilate as most likely a little bit better fighters than Medicham. That being said, I still think that Medicham has a lot of play, having the most amount of bulk out of any kind of solid fighting type Pokemon currently. This Pokemon has a lot of play with Ice Punch being buffed here as well for the season. And yeah, as you can see here, still going to have 19 wins, 16 losses, and just a very, very solid matchup against the current meta. Winning also, you know, against Primeape apparently with a new move update, which is kind of cool. It's going to be a very strong Pokemon. It's definitely going to be a very strong Pokemon. I would see that Medicham has a little bit more play. If you've seen, by the way, the video on my girlfriend's channel where we did a video about Medicham as well, again, check that one out. It's going to be, like, her channel's linked in the description anyway. This Pokemon is still very, very strong in this current season. We went 5-0 with this Pokemon. It is very, very overpowered. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. Zapdos. Shadow Zapdos. Here, I could have also put in, for example, the Emolga. Emolga does very similar stuff, but I like Shadow Zapdos quite a bit because Shadow Zapdos has access to the move Drill Peck here. Drill Peck is a very good move. And also, of course, Thundershock got buffed, and you might think, oh, why is this Pokemon even interesting here today? The thing is, here, this Pokemon has great pacing. Drill Peck and Thundershock together means you need 9 Thundershocks to get to 2 Drill Pecks, which is really good because you're going to be able to outspeed Pokemon like the Feraligatr with it. But also, the flying typing going to allow you to have some play against Mud Slap users, which is really, really nice, while still hitting them a little bit harder with a Drill Peck compared to something like the Emolga does. Of course, the inferior bulk is going to be a bit of a trickier one, but thanks to the Thundershock buff, actually, this Pokemon is going to gain quite a decent increase here, as you will see as well. This thing has a lot of play, and I would imagine that the Shadow Zapdos is something that you might want to build for the next season. This Pokemon looks like a lot of fun, having basically play against every single Pokemon here right now as well, other than like maybe a Carbink. Or like Clodsire. Clodsire is still hit for neutral damage with Drill Peck. Drill Peck just doesn't two-shot it, which is the main issue for this thing. But like you have a lot of play against a lot of the current Pokemon, and it's a very, very good typing to have in the current meta. And so I would even be surprised if we wouldn't see a Shadow Zapdos in like regional events or something like this coming up again. We had like times before where this Pokemon was usable. But as there are a lot of flying type Pokemon around as well with Mandibuzz and the Galarian Moltres, this Pokemon might be able to counter those as well. I feel like that the Galarian Zapdos or Emolga, both of them can do the similar stuff, are going to have a lot of play for the upcoming season. And now we're going to move on to Hypno. Hypno is going to, of course, be one of the Pokemon that a lot of people anticipate here to be very, very solid because it got buffed 3 times with Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, and the Fire Punch, of course. And as you can see here, this is the current recommended moveset for this meta. I'm not too sure if I'm going to go along with this moveset, by the way. I'm not too sure if this is going to be the best moveset that you can run. I could see Ice Punch having a lot more play as well. Ice Punch going to allow you, for example, to hit Pokemon like Diggersby for super effective damage. You're going to have other Pokemon as well, like Jumpluff, which is just going to go down to this one. So, in my opinion, this is not the best moveset for the Shadow Hypno. I would most likely not go for the Fire Punch. Of course, yes, you're going to be a little bit weaker against Pokemon like Steel types, just generally speaking, like the Yellow and Sand Slash, which is going to be getting a little bit of a buff as well. But I feel like the Ice Punch is going to give you a bit of better coverage against especially the current meta. I see quite a lot of Jumpluff currently around. So yeah, definitely interesting here. Thunder Punch is needed, a lot of water type Pokemon still there. But yeah, Hypno, definitely interesting. This is the last meta, this is the current meta, not the biggest change. This is the thing as well. People kind of overestimate this kind of change for Pokemon that have not been that great before. For example, here for Hypno, the fast move is mainly the issue because Confusion is quite clunky. Coverage is great for this Pokemon, but the fast move just doesn't really do it for it. But for example, where Fire Punch is really, really good is, for example, Diggersby, where this Pokemon was already very, very strong before the buff, and now with the buff, it's just going to be able to pick some more matchups up. It's not going to be buffs here this season where you kind of get Pokemon out of nowhere kind of go up to like being absolutely insane. Now, of course, some stuff that's going to be a little bit better, like the Arcanine, which you saw already, but Hypno is not going to have like all of a sudden like this big meta share. It's not going to be the best Pokemon ever, but it's going to be an interesting Pokemon to run and still something that you should try to consider, especially in limited metas. Pokemon going to be insane. And again, nobody knows your moveset. You can also go for Shadow Ball or Focus Blast or Psyshock. All of those good stuff should be very, very solid for this thing. And we're going to take a look now at the final one for today, which is going to be Bronzong. Bronzong is going to have access to the buffed move Bulldoze. I didn't actually know this before. But Bulldoze, again, we're going to have to consider that we don't know the exact stats. It has to be 35 energy basically for this to really work out. But Bulldoze is going to give you some solid coverage, to be fair, but just going to be the cheapest move that you can get to. And you don't really need Psyshock on a Pokemon that runs Confusion. Confusion does a lot of Psychic type damage already. And with Payback and Bulldoze, you're going to have some great coverage for Pokemon in the current meta. You're still going to be able to hit Pokemon like Cloudslayer for super effective damage, but you're just going to be able to even boost your own fast move attack by getting the Bulldoze debuff if that's actually going to work out. And so, yeah, this is going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you leave a like. Again, we're going to very likely take a look at the top Pokemon that got nerfed later on today, and we'll see you then. Bye bye.